One question I really was super interested in is I read that you're able to speak Dutch, English, and Japanese. Out of curiosity, which language do you find the hardest to speak fluently?
Japanese, for
Japanese.
sure. Yeah, so Dutch is my mother tongue. So that makes it easy. English, in my country, we've been taught since like basically when we were 4. It's everyone in the Netherlands speaks English. It's just completely normal here. You start very early in I can't find a word for it. Primary school. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's something I'm just fluent in. Japanese, I have studied for my bachelor. But it has slipped away a little bit. So I'm not as fluent as I once was, unfortunately.
I've heard, because like French and Spanish, they're very different languages, but they have a lot of similar roots, and you can almost kind of understand a little bit just by knowing, like, if you speak French fluently, you can kind of understand hints of Spanish. Is Dutch and English kind of similar to that, or are they like vastly different languages?
No, there are definitely similarities. Dutch is a Germanic language, so we more have a lot of things in common with German. But there's a lot of words that sound somewhat like English words. We have a lot of words that we borrowed from English as well. But I'm also fairly confident that if I would speak Dutch to you now, that you would not understand it. There may be a word, but like you would never be able to translate a sentence. It's one of the harder languages of the world, I think, to learn. Grammatically, it's very hard. That even for Dutch people, it's very, very hard. It was one of my worst subjects in high school, for sure. But yeah, there's definitely similarities.
If you could like just snap of a finger insta learn any particular language, is there one that you would be interested in learning?
I would probably still say Japanese. I just want to be able to speak that fluently, but if I have to separate from Japanese, then probably Korean.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've been wanting to learn the Korean alphabet as well, since everyone says that that's really easy to learn. And I know a few words, but I would love to be able to speak it like at least as well as I speak Japanese. That would be nice.
I can only speak English. I did take a little bit of Spanish when I was in high school, enough to be able to like kind of understand conversations when people are talking, but not enough to where like I could hold a conversation with it. And I'm kind of bummed a little bit I let it go. I wish I would have done more of it. Because yeah, I think being able to speak like multiple languages is one of the coolest things anybody can do. Like, and I guess it's pretty common around the world for a lot of people to know like 2 or 3 languages, and at least here in the US a lot of people just speak English, so it's kind of a bummer. That in that way you were born with the disadvantage when being born in an English speaking country. But yeah, it's never too late to start. Very true. I don't know if I was going to learn. Maybe I'd just dive more into Spanish because I'm already somewhat familiar with it, but like French would be really cool. I've always wanted to learn French. I mean, Japanese would be really cool as well. I don't know. I want to learn them all. Is that too much to ask?
I know the feeling. The only thing that I experience, and I know a lot of people experience that are either bilingual or trilingual or whatever lingual, you start mixing it up. I do that a lot, especially with English and Dutch. I feel I do it a lot. I just start mixing up words, and the more languages you throw in there, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
Which is really fun if someone around you speaks all of the same languages, but that's rarely the case.
Do you find when you're like talking to people, do you talk in English and think in Dutch, or is it like if you're talking in English, you're thinking in English? If you're talking in Dutch, you're thinking in Dutch?
Yeah, the second one. Definitely. Although I do think I think in English more than I do in Dutch anyway, because I've already been living the English life for a while. I've lived for a while in Japan as well, so that was also very much English focused. Besides Japanese, and me and my partner, we speak a lot of English to each other. Me and my friends do the same. Even though we're all Dutch, it's still a thing because we all live online so much that
Gotcha.
it's hard to switch sometimes. Even I have quite a few Dutch people in my community as well, and sometimes we're sitting in voice chat, and then it takes a while before someone realizes, guys, we can just speak Dutch to each other. What have we been doing? It happens almost every time.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah.
Do you feel like so there's one creator who I follow who is from Australia, and he says he grew up his whole life listening to like a lot of English movies, like English conversations and stuff. So he kind of, his accent, that Australian accent, faded away and kind of got replaced with more of a American accent, I believe he said. Do you find that's happened a little bit with English, like hearing certain English media has kind of like changed a little bit of your accent with it? Do you find?
In English, I feel like I definitely have an American accent, at least compared to British or Australian or something else. I don't know. I don't really think I have that thick of a Dutch accent in my English, but it does change compared if I speak to different people. If I speak to someone from Britain, I'm inclined to change my accent a little bit, even unconsciously.
Just like subtle, right?
Yeah, very subtle. But I generally talk very American English, I think. In Dutch, I definitely don't have an accent anymore. I used to have a pretty strong accent from where I'm from, but it's gone. It's just completely gone.
Yeah.
My parents always comment on it as well, like where did it go? I don't know.
You've
It's
lost
just gone. I disappeared when I started learning other languages, I guess.
It's going to be fascinating seeing how languages and accents evolve over the coming years with online and like voice chatting and FaceTime and all this kind of stuff becoming so more and more popular, because you can have people all across the world in like speaking different languages, but because of who they're speaking to, it can kind of like start to affect their accents slightly. So it's going to be really interesting to just see in the future where accents and conversations and language in general comes. I wonder if there'll ever be do you think there could ever be like a one world universal language?
They tried that.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't work. So
Didn't work out too
I don't
well.
know. Maybe one day. I don't think so. But
I feel like, I mean, maybe with the emergence of translation and, you know, artificial intelligence and stuff, being able to just translate stuff in real time, maybe I could see that not really being a thing, because I don't know. Part of somebody's culture and like who they are, and a big just part of who makes somebody themselves is language. Like language is such a crucial component of how people express themselves, phrase things, get very minute with details. And yeah, I mean, if that's all lost, you know, I don't ever see that being lost in the near future, but you know, thousands of years from now, I wonder how many languages could dissipate out, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's sad to think about, because I was actually talking about that with one of the editors for my book, because I've written it in English. So, of course, I need editors for it that would check all the spelling and the grammar, because being able to speak English is one thing, but being able to write it in is definitely a second thing, for a non-native. So one of them is from Britain and the other one is from America, and they both are doing a full check before I send it into the publisher. And I made a mistake where I put in a word that is actually only available in Dutch, but I made it the English version of it. So the person from America was like, that's not a word. What does that mean? And I explained it to him, and he was like, I think that might be a Dutch word. But that made me think about how there are words in different languages that one word that specifically talks about a certain situation or of something that is not able to be translated in English, for example, without using multiple words. And that's so interesting how different languages have that. Like, I know Swedish has a word that is specifically used for an English paragraph. And Dutch has so many words like that. It's just really interesting, and I love looking at that. I'm very much interested in languages like that, and how it works, and how, yeah, just how it's built up like that.
That is super fascinating. The idea of just turning like a paragraph worth of description into one word. Yeah, it's I'm almost fascinated what some of those words would be. How they would translate out essentially.